Let me launch into this now. And some of this is going to be new stuff for people. Some of it's going to be old, but we'll try to make this useful for everybody. So I am here, folks. Oftentimes when you guys have seen me, I've been at home. I'm here at Bigger Hammer Production Services in Long Beach, California, which is where we work out of. Boxer from Bigger Hammer is my co-founder over here at over here at Overdrive Energy Solutions. And they're actually unloading stuff from Cali Vibes right now. I want to start here talking about 2023. It was a seminal year for sustainable energy. And our mission in 2023 was to show the world that sustainable energy was here, practical, usable, and had significant advantages for the world of live entertainment. And we took an approach where we aimed at the top of the market. Me and my partners have all worked in large stadium show production and major festival production for a long, long time. And interestingly, I think that the ideal use cases aren't, they aren't necessarily in those markets. But in order to break through, in order to really get the message across, in order to diffuse some of the disinformation out there, it was important for us to aim high. And um, it was it was a success. It was an unmitigated success. We went, you know, it was, I think, um, 14 months between our first event, which was a uh, pop-up movie on Santa Monica Beach, to powering the Billie Eilish show at Lollapalooza in Chicago. And last year, we started with some early events to show people, what was possible. I think the Universal Music Group Grammy party was an interesting one because it was very small, but it was attended by, some fairly big names, and we got some attention there. And, we got from that we went to Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion. Reverb, which is an excellent organization that has been working on sustainability and live events for over 2 decades now, were our partners and continue to be our partners, and they helped open that up. And our first major event, Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion, at his ranch in Spicewood, Texas, ended up being the largest sustainably powered stage that we've ever seen in the US. We reduced the use of diesel by 95% there, as it shows. And after that, it was just gloves off. You can see, I'm not going to read directly from slides, but there are some recognizable names there. And it was very reliable. We had 99.9% uptime. That's not a made up number. Less than 0.1% of the time that we were deployed, we were not able to provide sustainable energy. More reliable than generators. So, coming off the back of an excellent year, I want to talk about what we've done, what worked that helped us be successful. And I wonder if is that stuff popping up here. So let's do a little review for some of those who already know us, and some information for those who don't. So our approach is unique in that it's very modular. We live in a world of centralized power. For the last 100 years, the most efficient way to deal with electricity was to make it in centralized power plants and then to send it where it needs to go. Whether we're talking about states and counties and cities and transmission lines, or we're talking about event sites, we kind of did the same thing. We had these large diesel generators. We have a lot of distribution equipment to move that energy where it had to go. And that's how things worked. So, of course, our power providers, their response when the demands for sustainable energy started coming up was to bring large battery systems, big, heavy batteries. And nowadays, these batteries are at the level where they can match the output of just about any major diesel generator. But there is a really big issue, which is that they take a lot longer to refuel than a diesel generator. I mean, when you have a battery that's sized to run a main stage at a festival, uh, just to recharge that thing when it's empty can take days, which increases cost dramatically. And at the end of the day, you're trading sustainability and less noise and exhaust for a lot more cost and a lot less practicality. Um, which is a path that leads back to diesel generators. We didn't understand that from the beginning. Overdrive has been founded by people who have both experience in live event production and in sustainable energy. We're an engineering-based company. Me and my other co-founder, Sean, are both engineers. I'm a mechanical engineer. Sean is an electrical engineer. Boxer is a production manager who has a lot of real-world experience on his own. This building has a solar array on it. His home has a solar array on it. He has a couple EVs. And the fact is that batteries are perfectly scalable. That a very, very large battery is just as efficient as a small battery. They're also very easy to parallel and stack, so you can build the capability you need on site. You don't need this very, very large thing that you haul around all the time. And so we took that approach. And what that approach did was allow us to reliably and cost effectively deploy these things quickly. So um, another thing that we did from the get-go was to not look at this as solar and not look at this as batteries, but instead as an energy aggregation, a way to combine the energy that we're getting, store it, and then use it as necessary. So, we're not just a solar company. We'll use solar, we'll use grid power, and we'll even use generators. By mixing these power sources, we actually make production easier. We use what's there. We use what's available to us. And then we store it. So we use it when we need it, right? And this opens up so many options. Not only can you easily and quickly scale and deploy, but you can do some funky things. Like for some of you people who understand power a little bit, we can take single phase power in and output split phase or three phase. We can supplement power. We can have a power source maybe that's limited in what it can output, and we can add on top of that. We can even act as a UPS, a universal power supply, a backup generator that switches over in very short time, about 20 milliseconds. So, it's opened up all of these things, which are better for live events. So the first point I'm gonna stress here is that battery-based energy storage power generation systems are a better solution for live events, full stop. The Martians come down tomorrow and they look at what we're doing on this planet and they look at the diesel generators and they look at the battery stuff. They're going to say, these generator people, what's wrong with them? The only thing that a generator is better at is taking a bunch of diesel and turning it to power. And the only reason you want that is when that's your only power source. These days, buckets to diesel is not the only power source. So where does this all come from? Well, it's backed by data. All of the gear that we have has data built into it. It's inherently a data acquisition system. Diesel generators don't have that. So I should say that they've integrated it into them, but it's not a characteristic of the system. And as a result, we have, many, many, many years, decades of anecdotal information about how we should size our generators and how we should use them. And it's resulted in our sites being very inefficient. Generators are typically very oversized, which makes them inefficient. And it's really hard, though, to change that perception. I mean, inertia is a real thing. Expertise, we rely on our experts. As an industry, we've made the mistake of thinking that diesel generator people are power experts, and they're not. So having this data to prove the points that we've made, that we're making, has been essential, and we have it now. So I want to talk about things that we can do today, that you guys don't have to wait for. These are cost-effective solutions, and to make a point of it, I've taken two pictures from last weekend. Cali Vibes in Long Beach. It's an AEG Golden Voice Festival. What you're looking at here on the left is an area called um, it was the Beach Club VIP. There was food and beverage on the back wall of it, bar. There was a Jamaican uh, kitchen cooking spot there. There was a video wall showing the main stage, audio. There were rental lockers, and there were 3 comfort station restrooms. There were also 2 food trucks. In the end, the 2 food trucks did end up running off of a diesel generator network. It had something to do with how they were advanced. And we're learning, but that was a small part of it. The rest of this entire area, including all the site lighting and everything, was powered by Overdrive's renewable energy systems. These restroom trailers are a great example of misunderstandings and over specifications. So when we got there, the generator provider had dropped a 100 kilowatt generator unit back here because they just assumed that they were going to be using that. So they dropped the 100 kilowatt generator system. That's how they usually do things. When you walked these trailers, each of them had 4 30 amp plugs. And that's, so we're talking about 3 trailers. That's 360 amps, 3-phase power. That's some pretty big power draw for those things, right? The max they ever drew was 5 kilowatts, 1/20th of what the generator that they supposedly deployed for. 5 kilowatts. I mean, off the top of my head, I forgot, but let's say that's like 30, 40 amps, and these things had plugs on them to accept 360 amps. And Overdrive has been doing this quite a bit now. Restroom trailers are very common. Dressing room, they use the same kind of power inputs. And even with AC going, you find that they use substantially less than what people think. We still showed up there with the ability to throw 30 kilowatts at it if we needed, and to supplement that with even more power if necessary. We set up a small solar array, but we never actually rely exclusively on solar. What we do is we size the battery systems for what we think we're going to need in a day, so that if there's not enough solar, if it's a cloudy day, whatever, we can recharge the batteries overnight. But we ended up needing nothing. The solar panels kept the systems fully charged all day while they were in use, and the amount that it took out of the batteries after dark was less than the amount that we could recharge between sunrise and noon. So we took all of the cost of deploying a generator and spill containment and distribution and the tech and the noise and the fumes and all that stuff, and replaced it with a set it up, walk away, forget it system. Same with the all the food and beverage and everything like that. They thought that they needed a fairly big generator, and we used a 70 kilowatt battery generator systems, one of these Moxions here, and at the end of the event, we had 40% battery charge left in that thing. We did the same thing at the artist guest area, the artist lounge. And for the artist lounge, they had the top floor of a parking garage. Pain in the ass to get generators up there, deal with power, etc. We just do one of those Moxion units, again, 40%, running video screens, running tents, running site lightings, all sorts of stuff. Silent, clean, and the cost was fairly in line with a full generator deployment. We could run much less distro. We could put the unit right there. I mean, on the other side of that scrim wall is a DJ setup and a bunch of tables and lounges. What you don't see is right behind where I was standing when we took this picture are lounges and tables and couches and things like that. You couldn't put a diesel generator there, but this made it easier, cheaper, reasonable. One of the big things we've been talking about now is generator hybridization. So that small stuff, site lighting and again the VIP areas and stuff like that. I think people are starting to realize more. Okay, this is doable, this is practical, this is cost effective, but we still need the big stuff, and it's not going to go away. Well, we can save right now. We can cut our fuel use in half and actually make the site more reliable. And this is being done commonly in a lot of other industries, and it's been done in our industry. This is what Coldplay did on their tour. They saved 50% fuel. Burning Man did this last year. They saved almost 60%. Overdrive did this, at the Luck Reunion, we saved 95%. At Burning Man, we also did at Burning Man, we were seeing 70%. Because the battery systems can actually back up large generators and allow us to do things like run silent. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with large festival production, but the way it typically works, like at a main stage or whatever, is the generator is deployed, they turn it on, and it goes for days and days and days, burning hundreds of gallons of fuel a day while they're building the stage when the loads are very low, etc. It's burning fuel all night. They leave it going all night, all so that we have enough power for the performances. With these battery systems, we can shut the generator off and use the battery system alone. In fact, at Luck Reunion, we had a couple of cloudy days where we didn't get enough charge, and we ended up running a generator for 2 hours on the morning of the last day before doors, and we were able to fully charge the systems to provide 12 hours of power at the stage. So no attendee at Luck Reunion last year had to smell diesel fuels, had to listen to diesel. And that's another thing I'd say, is that the ability to run silent is a big deal. Next time y'all are at any event, just take it in. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and listen to the constant din of generators all around you, because that is persistent, and and until you go to an event, you do an event where there's no generator powers, you don't realize just how we have this constant din in the background and the constant smell of diesel in the background. It's neither healthy nor economical nor reliant. And here we have a way to do this right now. So how does that work? Well, first of all, diesel generators are not they're deployed very inefficiently in our business. A typical internal combustion engine is at peak efficiency between 70 to 80% of its design load. What we have found is, for a variety of reasons that I can get into, one is the desire to have overhead for peaks that people don't expect. Another is legacy, beliefs about what power is going to draw. And the biggest thing I think is lack of data. For all those reasons, we're finding that diesel generators in live events, and these are at some of the biggest and the events that have the most resources, the events that you would think have the most, the smartest people working on this power grid, they're running at 10, 20% of peak load. And as a result, they're burning twice as much fuel even when they're on than they need to. So by just incorporating a battery system with a large generator, we can not just cut fuel use drastically and save costs drastically, but we allow this silent running, and also on top of all of that, how long does it take to switch over a diesel generator when they fail? And by the way, as many of you know, they deploy twin packs. Diesel generators are so reliable that most of the time you rent two. Well, the battery systems, you can replace one of those diesel generators with a battery system, and the switchover time, like I said earlier, is 20 milliseconds when they fail. So we have all of these opportunities, and that's why I'm spending so much time on this slide, because I've spoken to many of you before about the smaller stuff, and now it's time to change the way we do everything, including the big stuff. So how do we move forward? Last year when we started, these thoughts were running around in our head, but we really wanted to get that data and understand so much more what the future was and how diesel generators were going to be the solution. And I've kind of come out over the last couple months here, and I'm saying this more publicly. I don't believe that generator companies are the solution. They're not going to make us sustainable. I'm sorry. And I have friends who work for these companies, good friends of mine, and many of you rely on these companies. They're the people that you're going to. And as long as as long as you need power, of course you want to have that relationship with the person who's taking care of you for years and years and years. But they're not going to make us more sustainable. And here's why. Okay. First of all, they already own a ton of diesel generators and they're buying more. I know this is a fact because I know the suppliers. So, there's this argument that, well, as the diesel generators age out, we're replacing them with battery systems. It's simply not the case. They're not. They're buying more diesel. And why are they buying more diesel? Well, first of all, sustainable energy cannibalizes their revenue, right? Diesel generator companies aren't just renting you a generator. They're renting you all the power distribution. They're doing fuel service. They're doing on-site, maintenance and service and everything like that. And it's not that we don't do those things too, but because of the flexibility and the modularity that we have, we can do it more efficiently. We need less of that stuff. So even if a company had the foresight and they say, we're just going to start deploying battery systems in where the generators used to be, they're going to make less revenue. And are those boards going to be supportive of that? Or are they going to tell them to buy more diesel generators? And it's not just that. Like, look at these places of businesses, right? Their depots have shops that are designed to fix diesel engines. They have staff that work with diesel engines. They have all of their logistics equipment. Everything is built around servicing diesel generators. In order to move that so that you're servicing batteries takes a big, it's a big change. And here's another thing too, is if someone who isn't a big diesel generator company needs a diesel generator, it's pretty easy to get them. They're everywhere. You can rent generators all the time. So we believe that the future has to be a sustainable energy company that is energy-based storage first. In other words, a company that is has asset heavy with battery generator systems. A company whose revenue streams are based around deploying battery generator systems. A company with locations and staff that are focused around battery generator systems, and a company with the engineering talent and knowledge that knows when it's time to rent a diesel generator and bring that to the party and use that intelligently the way we need to use it. The incentives are just all in the wrong places. And, at the end of the day, we believe that we are that future. And it's a huge lift, okay? From last year to this year, what I'm facing all of you all right now is that Overdrive is going to continue to do what we're doing, deploying the sustainable energy at large, well-known events, grow into the smaller, practical, single-day events all over the place that are renting generators, the places where you see supplemental generators, at parties and things like that. But at the end of the day, if we want to make our temporary portable power generation world really effective, then someone needs to step up and help us. Yep, I'm going to do that, guys. I'm an engineer. I'm an entrepreneur, which means I have to be the fundraiser. So this is my first shot, guys. We need to have the resources in order to compete with large multinational generator companies. These are hundreds of millions of dollars in resources. But the simple fact is, it's a great deal because these assets, they last a long time. They don't need the maintenance. They lower the cost for you, the customers. All in all, if we can have the stomach, I've been saying to people that sustainability is no longer a technological issue, it's a cultural issue, and it's a capital equipment lending issue. If we can get those resources, then we can start making things sustainable right now. And that's my rant, folks. Let's see here. I